Okay, let's talk about introverts. Let's talk about being an introvert. Now, introverts, they've got it wrong, right? So everyone says, introverts are the inferior, right? Extroverts got it right. Introverts, they're the weird ones. They're the shy ones. They're the ones that lack confidence. They're the ones that are socially awkward and they're anxious, right? Now, if it makes you feel any better, I consider myself an introvert, right? I don't lack confidence. I can speak. I'm not socially awkward. I haven't got anxiety with, regular shit. But I can turn the switch on and off, right? I can be an extrovert if needed. If I feel like I should. If I feel like me being sociable in this period of time is beneficial and I might kick myself if I don't do this. Meet this person, meet that person, talk about this, networking, blah, 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 blah. I can switch it on and off, but it does make me exhausted when I've got to force myself to be sociable, right? So I consider myself an introvert because I'm very selective with my company. I'm selective with the people I spend time with. I don't like spending time with too many people at once. Just a few people that I like and a few people that I trust. I think the good thing when you're an introvert, a natural introvert, is you can be trusted. You're more genuine. Everyone who spends time with me, they know that I like them. They know that I'm not an opportunist who wants something from them or anything like that. I just like you, I think you're cool, and I value your friendship, right? What's the proof of that? Because if you know me, you know I don't really want to speak to anyone and I don't really want to spend time with anyone. So if I'm choosing to spend time with you, you're cool in my eyes, right? So I kind of like being that guy. I'm not the shy introvert. I'm not the introvert that lacks confidence. I'm just an introvert who don't really give a fuck about meeting new people or having small talk or asking people what the weather's like. Sometimes I get caught off guard, and I can imagine this being very difficult for people that, do struggle with, social awkwardness and anxiety and lack the confidence to speak and stuff. Me, if I go to get a coffee, when I walk in certain facilities, in my head, the conversation should be quick, right? Hello, how you doing? Yes, I'm fine, thanks. Can I get a coffee, please? Blah, blah, blah. Thank you for the coffee, goodbye. But when I get caught off guard, like, oh, so how's your day going? And I'm like, oh yeah, my day's going fine. And it's just kind of like, I don't really want to speak. I've just come in here for my coffee. And that catches me off guard. But I'm just, roll my eyes and go with it because I can switch it on and off. But I can imagine how difficult that could be. And I think it's due to people, if you're an introvert, put yourself in natural situations where you naturally have to socialise. I do understand it's hard to force yourself to have conversations. You go to big events and big parties where you got to be around loads of people that you don't know that well. And, they're forcing you to speak. They're forcing you to engage in conversation because they believe that everybody should be like that and you're just not. I can understand how draining that could be. But if you put yourself in, natural situations where it's just small conversations, but just get used to being around people. You go to the gym or you spend time in the coffee shops, go to a boxing gym, just where you got to speak to people and it's not small talk. You're speaking about something because a lot of introverts just need to speak about something, an actual topic, something, interesting, not just the weather, how you're doing, how's your day been, what you're doing this weekend, what have you got for lunch. Some introverts, that's just their issue there. They can't small talk. They want to talk about bigger things. Do you believe in aliens? I can talk about that shit all day. Do you know what I'm saying? So put yourself in natural situations just where you got to naturally socialise and there's no pressure, right? If you isolate yourself for too long, that means every time someone does try and speak to you or does try and start a conversation or does ask you a question, it's gonna really bother you. You know what I mean? And it's gonna ruin your day, and that'll be a devastating reminder for all the issues that you do need to sort. So if you isolate yourself too much, and you're just out and you got you're scrunched up and you're just walking, you're just trying to maneuver through, and then someone stops you and tries to speak to you, that's gonna really be like a shocking moment and a very devastating moment, and you've been caught off guard, and it's gonna ruin the rest of your day. So if you're an introvert, you can acknowledge that you're an introvert, right? You work on the things. If you got a confidence issue, work on that. Go to the gym, dip your toes in socializing, start little conversations, start saying hello to people and stuff like that. Don't isolate yourself too long, because if you isolate yourself, you can pretty much go 6 months without having, you know, a conversation with people that you don't know already. And then someone who you don't know starts a conversation with you and you will just be a mess. You don't want to do that. So, you know, repetition. I'm not saying jumping all the way in the deep end. And I'm not saying introverts are less than extroverts. But to be honest, you are going to miss out on opportunities. You're going to miss out on meeting more people and, you know, more good friends. I'm still making friends to this day. And that's just from me, you know, for those short moments where I put myself out there in social settings and start networking and stuff. And I still make friends to this day. And I've always considered myself an introvert, always. And I've never been ashamed of that because I do consider myself the confident version who is happy to say it. So dip your toes in, put yourself in, you know, social situations that are not too, you know, overwhelming, and gradually get there and at least get to the point where you can turn the switch on and off. You can turn on the socializing, being an extrovert if need be, and then you switch it back off and get back to your peace. All right.